What's going on, Nerd Nation? It's your friendly neighborhood Nerd King, Mac Taylor, here for another podcast for Film Vomit. And, last week we did Evil Bong 8 Infinity High. It was a franchise we had thought we were done with. They made another one. And this is another one of those cases. This is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise we covered last year. They made another one, which we knew this one was coming. It's not like Evil Bong 8 where we were completely thrown off and had to cover it. We knew this one was coming down the line. We actually planned on doing this way earlier in the year. Things happened. Things got pushed back, and here we are in December, covering Texas Chainsaw Massacre. There's gonna be some thoughts and opinions on this one. This film was, again, not really one I enjoyed. Full disclosure, though, not the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. So at least there's that. I don't think anything will ever get as bad as Texas Chainsaw Massacre for the Next Generation. So, if you're thinking about watching this one, you can probably give it a go. But I don't want to spoil too much about this pod. So without further ado, let's get into the... Hello and welcome to the Film Vomit Podcast, extension of the Vomit series of podcasts. As always, we're your hosts, Mac Taylor and Cole Selby. And today, we are going back to the old Texas Chainsaw Massacre because they made a movie. I can't believe it came out in February. Straight to Netflix, as it should have been. I know this movie was slated for a theatrical release, but good old COVID pushed it forward. This would not have been a good theatrical release film for sure. Yeah. So Cole, what were your expectations heading into this movie? And then
I mean, with the last few, like the new ones that came out, I wasn't too big of a fans of them. So I didn't have too much expectation. Not too much. I mean, I do think I do agree with you a bit about how it's better to not release it like it's a full theatrical thing, like in a theater. But with my disappointments with the recent Halloween comebacks, I was just leaving myself open, I guess, not expecting too much. That's really about it. Going in, that was really about it.
The bad movie siren is playing in the background.
It is. Oof.
Did you ever watch Halloween Ends?
Halloween Ends, I did with Tequila. I did with Tequila. We wanted to go watch it, and
I told you it was going to be different.
I know you did. I need to watch it again.
Mm-hmm. That's how I felt coming out of it.
So I'll hold off, I guess, on too much. I want to say I don't want to talk myself into a wall.
Right.
I want to watch it again if that says anything.
Speaking of watching things, though, Cole, what you been watching lately?
Well, recently we watched Black Christmas.
You watched that today, right?
Yeah. Recently watched that. I liked it. Tequila liked it. I'm glad she did.
It's a classic.
It is. It fits the theme for the house right now. We just got the Christmas tree up. I'm like, ooh, yeah, it's time.
Yeah, I'm going through Power Rangers Zeo, obviously with the loss of Jason David Frank. That's been a little tougher, but it's still going through Power Rangers, almost done with Zeo, about to hit Turbo. And movie wise, I just watched Alvin and the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman, which is a throwback to childhood. Nice. I don't know how we dealt with chipmunk voices for an hour and 15 minutes, though. It does get quite grating. Like
I had to watch those old movies just because my sister loved watching them, so it just kind of happened all the time.
Because like in the live action movies, it's a little less, because essentially with the cartoon they just pitched everyone's voices super up. Whereas I think with the live action, they did more mixing to where it's not just a higher pitched volume.
Yeah.
So it's a little less grating on the ears.
Oh yeah.
But again, that cartoon was like the 90s. I'm not
It was old. It
knocking
was
them
kind of
for
old.
what
Yeah,
their sound mixing at the time. But
they still had some bangers though.
oh yeah, I mean yeah,
Oh yeah.
some of the songs are still really good, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
the movies are fine. It's just like
Oh yeah.
you're like halfway through, and you're like, man, this is kind of annoying for a little bit. Then it gets back to being fine again. But
Yeah.
so Texas Chainsaw Massacre. So basically, the premise for this movie is that there's these teens who buy a town to gentrify it in some way.
Mm.
I know there's like themes of like they're trying to talk about like modern day social media and gentrification of small areas and things, but they don't ever really pick a theme. It just kind of jumps around. And then while they're in a gas station, they see the Texas Chainsaw Massacre documentary play in the background.
Nice.
And there's all this like memorabilia, like a corkscrew with a chainsaw, and
Mm-hmm.
they got to make any money they can off this huge tragedy that happened 50 years ago.
Yeah.
And the teens speed run being douchebags by insulting the locals and having odd interactions with police officers.
As is tradition.
As is tradition. You can't go to a Texas town without insulting the locals. One of which who calls them gentrifuckers, which is like, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like there are certain lines in this movie that like the actual writing of the movie, I think I hate more than how the film plays out.
Yeah.
I was like, someone put that in there, like, that'll be a tagline for the fucking trailer. So, and apparently they're at the town to have like an investment meeting to like have this little party to get people to invest, but like they get there literally maybe like 25 minutes before the rest of the people get there. You'd think you'd want to get there like a day before and like prep and kind of get everything like the thing that happens with the old lady. You'd want to like get that out of the way.
Yeah.
It's crazy how close they cut it. But yeah, so basically they see Dante, who's the African American of the group, sees the rebel flag and is like, oh, we got to get rid of that.
Oh yeah.
And then they see that there's a lady still living in one of these buildings, and she's like, but I have a deed, this is still my place. And they're like, nah, you got to get out of here.
Yeah.
And they don't check paperwork, and they just try to forcibly remove this very old lady on oxygen.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm just gonna take a hot guess. That's not how it works. I don't know paperwork, but I'm pretty sure it's not how it works.
And I mean, spoiler alert, we find out later that they did not have the deed to that house.
Mm-hmm.
And they just kind of kicked this lady out of her own house.
Yeah.
But you'd think you'd have all that paperwork together.
Yeah.
Yeah, make sure every building in the town is yours.
I mean, with that much money going around, you'd want to double check, triple check,
especially before forcibly removing someone.
Yeah.
But yeah, so she has like a panic-induced heart attack, essentially.
Mm-hmm.
And then we see Leatherface, who looks significantly younger and smaller than he should be.
Yeah.
Like, Leatherface was probably in his like 20s, 30s in the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
So he should be like in his 70s or 80s by now.
Yeah.
But he looks like a guy in his 50s. And it throws me off. And also he looks significantly less mentally challenged.
It's all the meat.
Well, like because this is supposed to be a sequel to the original. The original is supposed to be the only one in continuity. But he doesn't have the messed up teeth.
Yeah.
He isn't like slow. Like there's multiple points where he actually is like outsmarting people in this movie, and that's not Leatherface. Leatherface is a hulking brute, but he's not intelligent. That was the point of the cook.
Yeah, it's the other characters filled those gaps.
And also, it's said that he's been in this orphanage this whole time. But no, in the first movie, he was with the cook and the hitchhiker and Grandpa. What happened to? I mean, we know what happened to the hitchhiker, but what happened to the others? For a movie that's trying to be a direct sequel to the original, like Halloween 2018, it almost didn't know what the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre was. It's like they didn't watch the movie; they just got the cliff notes, and then they just threw it at the wall. Like, you know, you could have just said, like, this could have just been Leatherface's house.
Yeah.
By this town. Like, it could have been off to the side, and then they try to get people out of there. But it's like they tried to make a new movie, but still wanted to tie it to the original because they wanted to have Sally's character in it, which didn't make sense to me because the actress who played Sally died years ago.
Yeah.
And so it's just odd that and the actress who plays her does what she's supposed to do with this character, but none of this lines up to me.
Yeah.
It just felt like we didn't need to tie this to the original. It could have been its own thing. And it really didn't even have to be a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
Yeah.
And I know we just started talking about the movie, but it's something that bothers me deeply because the whole movie, I'm trying to make sense of what's, you know, continuity wise happening, and it didn't the entire time. So I struggled for a long time watching this movie. So yeah, and then Ruth, who's like Dante's girlfriend or fiance or whatever, decides to go with the cops and this lady to make sure she's okay. Which is, I guess, like in the group, she's one of the only ones that isn't kind of responsible for her dying. So I guess she's the one to. But none of them should have went.
Yeah.
Especially since Leatherface also went, and you know, he's big, scary, silent man. But the lady ends up dying, and Leatherface snaps and literally snaps the guy's arm and stabs him with his own arm bone.
Pretty brutal.
Yeah, the gore in this film is quite good.
Yeah.
The kills are pretty good. It's probably one of the only saving graces of the whole film.
It kind of sucks. That's like the one good thing that your horror slasher movie is good at, because like that's like kind of expected, you know.
Well, like Texas Chainsaw 3D had shitty gore because it was like CG'd.
Yeah. So
at least they did some like and yeah, there was some CG in here, but it wasn't like they actually had some good looking stuff. Like I said, this is not the worst Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie.
No. Oh, no.
By a long shot.
No.
So they hit their valley years ago, okay?
Yeah, they did.
So yeah, Leatherface causes the car to crash, and then we get a little bit about Lila, who survived a school shooting. And this really doesn't play into the plot of the movie very well. It just seems like something that, again, they're like trying to put a modern thing to like relate to these characters.
That's just like a weird section to pull from. It's like, I get she like, I mean, you don't like guns. That's cool. I mean, that's a reason.
Well, yeah, but that fact doesn't even last very long. She doesn't have a thought before she uses a gun later, you know?
Yeah, like
it's not like a struggle of the character.
Like, yeah, that's a weird way to modernize the movie.
And I guess it's a thing trying to say like her past trauma helped her with this trauma in a way because she kind of knows the beats. But a school shooting and a guy wearing someone's face with a chainsaw are completely different situations.
Yeah, like they don't really have too much of a one-to-one except for someone wanting to kill you, I guess.
And that there's probably there's gore around you, but very different. So like it's like they had a bunch of small, it's like they picked ideas out of a hat. So everyone just threw everything in a hat. We picked a few things out and we stitched it into a script because there's a lot of things that just they're not set up or paid off. They just kind of happen. And the whole like school shooting survivor thing is part of it. It really, her character didn't need that.
Yeah.
to have this older sister, younger sister dynamic, that was never necessary. What I guess you could say about a lot of this film is that it's a lot of unnecessary things for a movie that's like an hour and like 31 minutes.
Yeah.
Not a lot. It's a smooth hour and a half, but it's a very confusing hour and a half. Also, during the car crash, one of the cops gets shot in the neck. Meanwhile, Lila and Richter is the guy they insulted in the beginning, who turns out to be their like landscaper. And they bond over guns and smokes, real Texas style here.
Oh
yeah. And basically Richter takes their keys and he's like, you make sure that you had that deed and I'll give you your keys back. It's like, you're a little late for that. The lady's already dead.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah.
So we cut back to the car crash where Leatherface is skinning the face of his dead mother figure, which is, I guess he's wearing it as like an homage to her, like to where like she's killing these people in a way. But it's a little odd to see him mutilate the corpse of the one person he cared about.
Yeah.
And while this is happening, and this is actually a pretty good scene but it's with a character we don't have any sort of backstory with. Like Ruth, we meet her for a split second with the group, and then she's in the situation. So we don't know much about her. But she's stuck in this van as Leatherface is kind of going about his beats because she can't just run out. And it's in this like sunflower like field of like these like dead sunflowers. It's a really cool imagery. Again, it's one of the best parts of the film. And they put it in the trailer because they know it's good.
Yeah.
So, she's trying to like radio for help but she's also trying to be quiet. But then the cop who got shot in the neck is like sputtering. And then so Leatherface beats the hell out of him with the oxygen tank. And she has to play dead. And so there's a lot of cat and mouse with her until finally she's like looking around and he shows up on the other side of the window and like, she gets a pretty easy death compared to everybody else. He just kind of like cuts her stomach. It's almost like he showed her a little bit of mercy because she was nice enough to come along for the ride.
Oof.
But yeah, it's like the whole the tension of this scene worked. Like again, it's probably the best put together scene in the whole film. But it's why again they showcased it so much when this movie was coming out, because they're like we can't show anything else because people will hate it. Because the other scenes that they did show in the trailer, people were like, "What the fuck is this?" So back with the group, Mel, who is the older sister, whose name we didn't bring up till now, and Dante are looking around the house for the deed. They find it. So they know that they fucked up. And then Dante is immediately then struck with a hatchet across the face. And there's a lot of like reflection shots in this film. They lean heavy on that. Like Dante, there's like this like pan holder thing in the kitchen that's rattling. And when he goes and looks, he sees Leatherface in the reflection. And later there's like some stuff with mirrors in the bedroom. Like there's a lot of like seeing Leatherface in a reflection, oh shit, he's behind me thing. Like they did it a little too much. Like again, it's an interesting thing visually, but I think it's overplayed. So yeah, Dante is dead. He's not quite dead yet, but he's pretty much done here. And again, so someone who really didn't get a lot of character. He kind of like was an asshole for a little bit and then got killed. Which, some slasher films are not known for, and especially Texas Chainsaw Massacre, not known for its great character development. Even Sally didn't have a lot happening in that first movie. She just kind of is a reactionary person to what is happening around her. We don't know a lot about her life. We just kind of see her go on this journey. But arguably, she has more character development because she slowly kind of goes mad with what's happening around her. Whereas here, I don't think any characters really change or learn anything.
Yeah.
So it's like raining and everyone's getting on this party bus, which they're setting up for like one of the big scenes in the film later.
Mm-hmm.
Dante manages to make it out of the house and kind of alerts Richter that like there's a problem because his face is like gashed across.
Yeah.
And he dies out there. So he basically just exists to let the people know that there is danger coming.
Mm-hmm.
But and like the banker lady doesn't tell the sister what is happening out there. She's just trying to get everyone to stay in the bus. I'm like, you should try to leave. Like, yeah, I know you're waiting on Mel, but like that's one person, man.
Yeah.
Like, you got like 20 people.
For
she doesn't say shit. She just like lets it ride, which is like such a crazy thing. She kind of murders everybody in a certain way. So meanwhile in the room, Mel is hiding in the closet like Halloween style. And Leatherface comes in and like grieves for his mother for a little bit and then gets angry, throws a tantrum, and gets the chainsaw from the wall.
Yeah.
And I guess it's supposed to be the same chainsaw from the first movie, but if a chainsaw has been sitting in a wall of a house for like 50 years, it's not going to look like that.
Yeah.
It's going to be rusted and
you're gonna be lucky if it works.
Because he turns it right on. It's like, there's no way. If there was gas sitting in that thing for decades, it is not working.
Yeah, no, that's like this. Like, that's not good gas. No.
You leave gas in a lawnmower for the winter and you're fucked.
Yeah, you are. Like,
so,
like
you're telling me that this thing was good after 50 fucking years?
Yeah, no, it's thematic, I guess.
But again, it could have just been another chainsaw. He could have like Richter could have came in with a chainsaw. And then he got it from him. It didn't have to be the same chainsaw from 1974.
Yeah. Or like maybe you could have just used the chainsaw over that entire period of time. Just like instead of it being like a untouched relic.
But again, it's like Michael Myers getting the mask after all these years, you know?
Yeah.
That's what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
But it doesn't work the same.
Yeah.
A mask sitting in an evidence locker could probably last for 40 years with the changes that it had.
Yeah.
A chainsaw in the wall of a house does not age the same.
No.
So I saw that. I was like, God damn it. Like, did no one check the script? And the whole time Mel is like under the bed for like him getting the chainsaw out. And so there's some tension there. But Richter comes in and everyone with a gun in this movie just forgets how to use it.
Yeah.
So he decides to get into a fist fight with Leatherface, which is like the wrong thing to do. So he gets his leg snapped and then stabbed in the neck and then sledged brutally, like till his head is literally like nothing on the ground. But he tries to hand his keys to Mel like as he's dying, which creates more tension of her having to then get the keys and get out of there. Which she does, but she gets like hit with the sledgehammer and she falls like through the floor and then is like under the house.
Yeah.
And this pipe bursts.
Yeah.
And it's like
poo.
Sludge.
Poo. I thought
was it a septic line?
I thought it was poo personally. Like that's what made it better for me. A lot.
I don't know. I couldn't tell what it was, but I was like, okay.
It was nasty. It's what it was. Like we all know that.
And then Lila comes in and saves her at like the last second.
Yeah.
Out the window. And they run back to the bus because they have the keys. But it's like, you know, you went where all the people are. And as they go to drive away, Leatherface, I assume, saws the tire or something. because they stop and the driver gets out and then gets decapitated by Leatherface. And then everyone's stuck in like this party bus. There's no back door to run out, apparently.
Yeah.
Which is a kind of a fire hazard.
It is.
So Leatherface walks in. Everyone pulls out their phones. This one guy's like, "Try anything and you're canceled, bro." And it's like, and that was in the trailer. And I saw that when the trailer came out, and I immediately didn't want to watch this movie.
Yeah.
Because it's such a forced thing to try to like modernize it. But like, if a man wearing a face over his face, wielding a chainsaw, comes into a party bus, you're not going to pull out your phone and say some modern douchey lines to him. You're going to try to get the fuck out of there.
Yeah.
Joke or no joke, like you're going to want to leave. And so like during the stream, like he's murdering these people and you see the comments of being like, "Oh, it's the standard. We've seen this in a bunch of other movies. It didn't need to be in this franchise." But the gore of the bus scene is fun. Yeah. He goes around, he's like sawing people in half. Like the banker lady tries to get out a window and he halves her there.
Yeah.
People are getting sliced down the middle, pierced through. We're getting all the gore here.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the sisters are hiding in the bathroom and you see blood like pouring under the door.
Yeah, it's fun.
It's a fun scene.
Yeah.
And he tries to chainsaw to the door. They go through like the little window up top, which apparently was the only way to get out of the back of this bus, which is insane.
Yeah.
So they run away and they find Sally, who this whole time has been like hunting around these crime scenes. Because, again, she's supposed to... It's like they saw Halloween 2018 and they're like, "We're doing that." But it doesn't make as much sense with... Granted, it didn't make a lot of sense with Laurie, but they made it work. I think they leaned into her trauma a little too much.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, there was a story that built up to the finale where she faced off with Michael. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, we spent time with Laurie and understood her mindset.
Mm-hmm.
With Sally, we just are thrown into her hunting Leatherface.
Yeah.
And she's also not very smart about it.
No.
And it doesn't really make a lot of sense for Sally's character. Sally was, not in a good mental state when she got away.
Mm-hmm.
And would probably never want to come back. She would probably leave Texas.
Yeah.
She definitely is not going looking for Leatherface. She barely got out of there alive, and she was like mad, like laughing like a mad person.
Yeah.
That trauma is not going to make her want to become this like action hero character. And again, we didn't need Sally because the original actress couldn't play her. Mm-hmm. So like even the ties to the first movie with that isn't earned because it's not the same person.
Yeah.
Because if Marilyn Burns was still alive and you wanted to bring her back as Sally and you forced it in there for that reason, it at least makes some sense to me.
Yeah.
But this does not make sense to me. So, I had a lot of headaches here with this part. So they meet up with Sally, who leaves them in the car with no keys and decides to fight Leatherface. But again, she has a shotgun and just completely misses and gets way too close.
Yeah.
And gets like chainsawed through, which is like, again, you have a gun.
Yeah,
and
like
if you're a ranger, you can shoot a gun.
Like shotguns have very incredible range and still being lethal.
Spreads.
Just stay a good distance away. Find
stay
a corner.
Out of chainsaw reach.
Yeah, stay out of chainsaw. It's not that hard to stay out of chainsaw.
And just fire in front of you because basically anything right in front of you is going to get hit with something.
Yeah, like it's not a fun time.
But instead they go right up to him where they can't even get the gun to shoot because it's too close, so they can't even aim the fucking gun at him.
Yeah.
He moves the gun out of the way and then chainsaws them. And it's like, God damn it, people. Why are you like this? So then they're kind of screwed here. They decide to try to help out. She gives them the keys finally, and they go to run Leatherface over, but he just kind of like yeets his chainsaw at their window.
Yeah.
And he's lucky that worked, because they
Yeah.
should have still been able to drive away, but instead they were like, oh no, the window. And then they crash into the fucking garage. Because everyone in this movie just reacts horribly to every situation.
Yeah.
So Mel's stuck in the car, and she's like, I'll just take, I'll let him kill me. You get out of here. And Lila's like, nah, I'm going to go get the gun, but not check to see if it's loaded and ready to be shot.
Nope. Can't do that.
So she fights with Leatherface for a little bit. Sally is still alive somehow and shooting, even though she got chainsawed through her torso.
Yeah, like I have a hard time believing you'd be able to even move.
She should have died immediately.
Yeah, like that's
got chainsawed through the organs. Like all the vital organs are there.
Yeah.
And she's also like 80 years old. She should be dead.
Yeah, there's no coming back from that.
Yeah, it's not like Jamie Lee Curtis in the new Halloween movies where she'll take a few hits, she might get stabbed somewhere or something. But you can go past that.
Yeah.
Getting chainsawed through your torso, I don't care who the fuck you are. I don't care if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger. You die.
Yeah, you're being like you're being held up by the chainsaw. Then you're flung with the chainsaw into trash. Like you're done. You're dead.
So yeah, it's a lot of that shit in here. So there's a battle back and forth. There's a scene where Leatherface like puts the chainsaw somewhere to lure Lila in so he can like tackle her into a pool. But it's like Leatherface isn't that smart.
No.
He should just be running at people like he normally does, just full force, not strategizing on how to get these people. It's the small things that I think make me the most mad. So they square off, and Lila chainsaws up Leatherface's face, and he falls into the pool. And it's like, you should know he's not dead.
Yeah.
Like that, you just cut his jaw a little bit. Like that's not enough to kill him. So they get in their self-driving car.
Mm-hmm.
And they're driving away. They're having a laugh, and Leatherface rips Mel out of the car and decapitates her and does the chainsaw dance with her decapitated head as Lila kind of mimics the end of the first movie with like screaming out but instead of it being like in the back of this truck with this scared guy driving, it's in a self-driving car and she's out the sunroof of it. It's not as gruesome of a scene almost, even though he's holding a decapitated head.
Yeah. I mean, they're relatively clean, honestly. At the end, when they're
whereas like Sally was covered in blood by the end and had spent like the last like half hour of the film screaming and running. Yeah. Significantly less blood on both of them, even post decapitation, and not as much screaming and running around in the madness. But that's because you didn't have the family this time. The family brings the madness aspect of it.
It does.
Leatherface by himself isn't as interesting as the family and everyone in it. And that is that's Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022.
Yeah.
Like I said, there wasn't a lot of notes I took on the movie because it was so cut and dry. No pun intended. Cole, give me your overarching thoughts here on Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022.
It's I don't know if they'll ever be able to truly do like relevant dialogue for young people in movies. I mean,
I think you're right on that.
That's always gonna be a problem.
I forgot to say, during the fight, she calls him Leatherfuck. Which again was like a line written by like a 40-year-old dude. It's like, this one's gonna be in the fucking.
It's great. It's fucking great. They're gonna laugh. So, like, I feel like if they took themselves less seriously, it probably would have been a little bit better.
And like when you're writing for young people, yes, there's a lot of like social
Yeah.
media douchey, but like there's also realism. Not everyone talks like that all the time.
Like it's hard. It's hard to watch sometimes, but I mean, like you said too, the gore was fun. It's a good time to look at. It's a slasher movie. A Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. It's not too much, but
where does
it's a
it
good
fall
slasher
on
movie.
your like ranking scale? As far as like where in the franchise, because this is, I believe, the 9th film.
Yeah.
So where does it fall for you?
Man, it's low. It's a low. It's bottom. Not the very bottom.
I would say it's better than Next Generation for sure.
Oh yeah.
I would say it's better than Texas Chainsaw 3D. And I would on different days say it's better than Leatherface, the road movie.
Okay.
Because that movie even makes less continuity sense.
Yeah.
Than this one. But other than that, I think it falls behind the rest for sure. And it's crazy that they find it so hard to make a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie because, like, the remakes, like the 2003 and the 2005 one, were pretty good. They got it right. And then it's like they completely forgot how to do them after that.
Yeah. I think they just overthink it.
They put too much emphasis on Leatherface, whereas Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the movie doesn't revolve around Leatherface. He's a great character and a standout character, but you have characters like the cook, or even in the remakes like Arlie Ermey's character. You had to have the brains of the operation and someone else to give a little bit of like insanity, because Leatherface isn't insane; he's mentally insufficient. And because of that, is easily led astray, and because of his size, is able to brutalize people.
Yeah, yeah.
But the family is supposed to be where the psychoticness comes into play.
Yeah.
And without the family, with Leatherface by himself, they've had to make him smarter because he can't be dumb.
Yeah.
And all this, which takes away from the character, and he doesn't like. There's no dialogue from like anyone else really. It's just a guy. It makes it just like any other slasher. The charm that Texas Chainsaw Massacre has, which makes it stand out amongst slasher movies, is taken away when it's just Leatherface. So yeah, like this movie's on Netflix. If you want to give it a go, it's not a complete waste of time. But if you're looking for Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies to watch, there are many other ones that do a much better job. The first 3 and both the remakes I would recommend before this one for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, we'll do Familiar Faces. There's not a lot because a lot of these actors and actresses are still quite young and doing stuff in their careers still. Dante was played by Jacob Lattimore, who's going to be in the new the remake of House Party coming out in January. So he's going places. Sally was played by Olwen Forey. It's hard to pronounce last name. We know her from Mandy. Yeah. Which was fantastic film.
Oh yes.
Which very you can check out our podcast over Mandy that we did. It was a great time. And Lila was played by Elsa Fisher, who was in 8th Grade, which I believe was a film made by Bo Burnham. And she just this year also was in another horror film, My Best Friend's Exorcism, which was significantly better than this film.
Heck yeah.
So I would recommend checking that movie out. It's on Amazon Prime. So yeah, and for trivia, again, there's not a lot because this movie was made this year. It's not like there's deep lore.
Yeah.
We talked about it being pushed. Sally's Barn is actually the set used in Rambo Last Blood as Rambo's house. They just used the same set to shoot those couple of scenes.
That's great.
So I saw that. I'm like, I would also much rather be watching Rambo Last Blood. And when they drive through the town, the population of Harlow says 1,974 because the first movie came out in 1974. So that was like a little homage there. Other than that, that's about it. It's not like this movie exactly has deep. There wasn't a lot of thought put into making this thing work anyway.
Yeah.
It just seemed like they needed to make another Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie to keep rights to things.
Mm.
And they're like, with the Halloween movies out, it was like a time to capitalize because every slasher franchise seems to be coming back in some way. We're in a horror resurgence really over the past few years. And just like any other resurgence, there's a lot of good, there's a lot of bad. And this one just falls not even really in the bad category, in the very forgettable category. So yeah, that's going to conclude our coverage on the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022. Join us next week for the last pod of 2022. We're going to be doing Black Christmas, which, ironically, Texas Chainsaw Massacre came out in 1974, and so did Black Christmas. So some
year.
Yeah, good year. And another one of those OG slashers that can be accounted for the boom. It was pre-Halloween.
Yeah. Like I've already watched it again, and I'm going to watch it again. It's a good time.
There's a lot to talk about with that movie, and I can't wait to get into that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, make sure to check that one out. Join us next time. Stay safe, stay nerdy.